Hey, what's happening, everybody? I am Jay Hollingshed, your high performance mindset coach. I help athletes win more competitions and produce better stats. I help entrepreneurs become more productive and produce more income. I am Jay Hollingshed, your high performance mindset coach, and today is day 61 of my 7 pillars of mental performance in 365 days. So that means this is 61 of 365. We're pushing along in this thing, and I appreciate everyone for watching and staying faithful with me. Those that are constantly liking and sharing, I do appreciate you guys. And speaking of appreciation, thank you to everyone who has been following and subscribing to my YouTube page to catch all of my episodes and those that they have probably missed. So thank you as well. And today is, I'm drawing a blank. Here we go. Today is Friday. No, Thursday. Thursday, 5th day of the week, day 5. Day 5, we discuss pillar number 5, which is imagery and visualization. Imagery and visualization. Now, I got some good stuff for you, and I got some good notes that I took. I did some research, as usual, trying to bring you the best information that's out there that has to do with the 7 pillars of mental performance. So, on imagery and visualization, here we go. Let's see. On imagery and visualization, this evening I'm going to quickly bring you the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, and the how of imagery and visualization. The who, I will tell you who used it, basically who used it or who uses it, and the what I will define what imagery is and what visualization is to give you a clear understanding of the difference in the two. The when, those that used it and are still using it, when they use it or when did they use it, when is the time to visualize and when is the time to go into imagery or using your imagination. So that's the when. Where, those that used it, where did they use it? And the why would be the reason for using it. You will understand why they're using it, why they used it. And once you understand why they used it, you can take that and apply that to you and your life and your personal scenarios or your personal situations that you're in and evolve your own why and why you can use imagery and visualization to help you. The how. The how is pretty much how they used it, how they benefited from it. And that's where, that's the big picture right there. So I'm going to give you all of that. And I'm going to follow that up with you on how you can implement that in your own life. So imagery and visualization. First of all, look at the root words, like I say in my last previous Thursday post on imagery and visualization. Imagery, imagine. You're using your imagination. Imagery is the process of using your imagination to create an experience. You are creating an experience. Now, visualization, visualize, vision, and that involves your sight. You want to see a clear picture or a clear understanding. You want to see a clear result. So that's the difference in imagery and visualization. In one, you are visualizing a result or an image. The other one, in imagery, you are creating an experience through your imagination. Now, the imagery usually applies to the process. There's a process of getting to the end result that you visualize. You imagine how you're going to get to what you visualize, if that's making any sense to anybody. Now, let's go through a couple of examples. Let me see. A couple of songs come to mind. The first one, there's a song, it's an old school song by The Temptations, Just My Imagination. Now, those of you that are familiar with that song, The Temptations are talking about an experience. Like I said, in the definition of imagery, you are imagining an experience. You're running through a process, an experience in your mind. So in the words of the song, Just My Imagination by The Temptations, They are imagining an experience. Just my imagination once again running away with me. Those are the lyrics, or part of the lyrics. And that my imagination running away with me is an experience. So that's not a vision, that's not an end result or a vision that they have for that song. Now, another song, Shawn Mendes, he also has a song called Imagination. And in his song, his imagination, he's imagining, his imagination is taking place in his dreams. There's a process going on in his dream that's in his song that he talks about. So there's two songs that deal with imagination, and they both talk about creating or dealing with an experience. Thus, the definition, which goes back to when you're imagining or using imagery, you are creating an experience. Now, let's go right into some of this other good stuff. Entrepreneur and inventor, Nikola Tesla. Yes, Nikola Tesla, the one the Tesla car is named for. He actually had a vision of a Tesla coil, and it wasn't called a Tesla coil. He just had a vision of a product that can produce an alternating current. And that alternating current led to what we have today, the electric motor, which is now in the Tesla cars or any electric vehicles. So he had a vision of a device or a motor that can produce an alternating current. Now, he went from that vision to imagery in creating the process of getting from concept to production or concept to end result. That's a long process. So to do that, he imagined the process. Now, if you really do any research on Nikola Tesla, you will find that there's one magazine, and I don't think it was a magazine, it was an article in an old New York newspaper called the Something Entrepreneur. I can't think of what it is right now. But there's an article about Nikola Tesla, and it describes how he went into his process for all of his inventions. Now, the first, he's most popularly known for the alternating current, or the Tesla coil, which produces the alternating current. However, he invented many more inventions. And for every single invention, he did the same thing. He started with a vision and went through from the vision to the imagery process, or the process of imagining. And here is how. I'm about to go into the how. The how is he started in his mind. He created it in his mind first, then he went to the physical creation or manifestation of it. In his mind, he saw the end result, which was the Tesla coil. And he went through the creation process in his mind. In his mind, he was putting it together piece by piece, imagining what he would use for this part, or what he would use for another part. And he was putting it together. He went through the process of creating it, putting it together, testing it, having an actual failed experiment of it in his mind. He failed in his mind, went back, corrected it, made corrections, and then tested it again, got a positive result, got the results he wanted, went forth and went through to the production of it and called it the Tesla coil. That was all in his mind. Once he made the mistakes, corrected the mistakes, got through it all, the finished product, then he went through and used his hands and actually physically manifested and created the actual invention itself. He did that to at least 20 of his inventions. And I'm still trying to think of that newspaper in New York. It's an old newspaper. You can Google it, you'll find it. And I think it was the Something Inventor, I think is what it was named. Either way, Nikola Tesla, that's how he used imagery and visualization, and the difference in the two when they were used. So the when is you use visualization to picture your goal, actually. You picture your end result. And imagery or the imagination, you use that for the process. That's what Nikola Tesla did. Now, let's see, that's from an entrepreneur perspective. Since I cater to entrepreneurs and athletes, I got an athletic situation for you. Athletes who visualize the end result they want. They visualize the end result they want, then they imagine the journey of getting there. Every single Olympic athlete is trained in the art of imagery and visualization. They use it all the time. 97% of the athletes that are trained in Colorado at the U.S. Olympic Training Center are trained in imagery. Let me get that right. 97% of the coaches in Colorado that train at the Olympic Training Center train with imagery and visualization. 100% of the athletes use imagery and visualization. And what they do, like I said, they start out with the end result in mind, which is basically them, depends on the sport. Either way, they visualize themselves getting the medal they want or finishing the routine or whatever it is they're doing. They finish perfectly. So that's what's in their minds. And then they imagine the process of doing that. So every Olympic athlete goes through that process. Simone Biles, she was one that used that and used it a lot. She was a heavy, she used imagery and visualization heavily. Even she started at a young age doing that when she left her parents' home and moved in with her coach for years, practicing for that event, for her event. And she used imagery and visualization, and we see the success that she had from that. In the same manner of Nikola Tesla, she saw the end result, imagined the process, and went straight through it. And we see what happened. She is a super big time gold medalist for the U.S. Olympics. Now, that was the who and the what, and I did go through the why and the when. Let me see, what else do I have down here? There's a study that was done. I studied this in one of my doctoral classes. It was called a finger spring study. And actually, finger spring, there was a spring. Imagine me holding a spring in between my fingers and working it like this. Up, down, up, down. I'm squeezing and I release, squeeze and release, squeeze and release. Now, this study was done with 3 groups. There was one group that actually took the actual spring and pushed down and release, pushed down and release, and they worked out with an actual spring. They practiced and they rehearsed it. There was another group had no spring, but they went through the motions with no spring and they mentally rehearsed it. So they visualized the actual going through the process. And there was another group, no spring, no practice. That was a group 3. So no spring, no practice. And here were the results. The group with no spring and no practice, of course, they had no results. Now, the group that just without the spring, and they did this, and they imagined pushing down on the spring and letting go, pushing down on the spring and letting go. They had so many reps that they had to do, and I don't quite remember those, but they had reps that they had to do. And that group actually, they gained 22% more finger strength in their index finger just from doing that. No spring at all, but they visualized the actual spring. So they got results just from visualization. And those that actually held the spring between their fingers and went through the process, they gained 40% finger strength from going through the actual process of squeezing the spring. There we go. So that just shows you the visualization actually works. You can gain results from visualization. Now, if that was 22% and 40%, imagine, here I go with imagining. Imagine what would happen if you add visualization to the actual practice of doing the physical work. You would come out greater than 40%. So, what else was that I had researched? I think that was about it. I covered everything pretty well. So, the who, what, when, where, and why of imagery and visualization. Imagery. Last time, you're using your imagination to go through the process of of the beginning to the end of your vision. What you visualized was the end result, your product, what you want to have conceptualized, what you want, and like I said, is your end result or your goal. And anything else? Last but not least, you. Now that you know about imagery and visualization, how it can be used, how to use it, think about where you are in your situations, in your work situations, your circumstances at work, on your job, in your life with your kids, your family, or your personal goals. If you're an athlete, you definitely have athletic goals you want to reach. If you are trying to get promoted, you want a certain position at work, or you want just to be, you have a presentation coming up and you want that to be a great presentation. Add some imagery and visualization to your work. Do that, but it has to be some consistency, okay? You can't just do it once and expect it to work. You have to practice it, repetition, consistency. And for those of you, the athletes or entrepreneurs that are practicing imagery and visualization, you have applied it and you can't seem to get past just the imagery and visualization part. Nothing has started to come to fruition. Nothing is manifested from your work. You're having difficulty. You want help with that. Go to speaktojay.com, speaktojay.com. Access my calendar. Fill out a time slot. Let's talk about trying to get you the help you need to get over that hump and manifest what you are imagining and visualizing. Thank you so much. That is all for day 61 of imagery and visualization. Day 61 of my 7 pillars of mental performance in 365 days. I appreciate all of you for watching and listening and tuning in. Be well, stay blessed, and through love, be a blessing. God bless.